Most lifters in the gym that have been going for years look like and perform like beginners, and most of you watching that are lifting will stay beginners statistically speaking unless you understand what I'm about to walk you through in this video, okay? So what we're gonna go through in this video specifically is the beginner purgatory phase, which usually about 80% of people, now these percentages are made up, but they reflect that of any other human endeavor, okay? Obviously, most people in every facet of life do not achieve what they want to achieve or do not achieve elite tier levels of performance or whatever the case. So as a result, beginner purgatory, 80% of lifters not only are here currently, but will remain here for the rest of their lives. 15% move on to the intermediate stage, okay? These people start to look impressive. You can tell that they lift, but they get stuck in the intermediate trap. So I'm gonna give you the tools and at least a mindset and understanding to avoid this trap or overcome this trap so you can get to the truly advanced. Couple things I have to address off the bat based on this and a few other things. I'm gonna start sweating like crazy. In fact, I already am because I am currently recording this video in my condo, which flooded a few days ago. So I'm gonna put some footage on the screen as to what it looks like at the time of me recording this. As you see, it looks like chaos because, well, it is. Nonetheless, have to get this video. I gotta teach you the most important thing in the world, which is how do we make gains, all right? So anyways, figured that might be something that you'd be interested in, or if you see me pouring sweat halfway through this video, you'll understand why. There's no AC in here right now, okay? Also, secondly, you might be thinking as you watch this, as a lot of people do, especially on TikTok, as it was expressed several times, oh, but bro, you look like a beginner, they would say, right? And I totally understand. This is social media after all. Most people watching this don't understand what they're looking at, okay? They don't know what any of my stats are. I can assure you, I'm at the very least past this. How much of a truly advanced I am, I still believe I have ways to go. But I would be considered from purely a natural FFMI standpoint to be advanced. And I'll break down exactly why that's the case shortly. Just because I don't look like that roided out guy that you're used to seeing, or I'm not in perfect lighting, wearing a tight enough shirt, etc. Keep these things in mind, okay? That's all I'm gonna say on that. So I have to at least defend myself to some degree if I'm gonna be teaching this type of stuff. Okay, so we've got time axis on the bottom and we have physique progress. So the reason I drew the graph this way is because we see that beginners make some progress, okay? Being a beginner doesn't mean that you stop making, or you never make any progress. You make some progress and then you level off and you stay here. 3 years go by, you're still where you were after year one when you made this progress. 6 years go by, I don't get it, I still look like a beginner. That's what happens here, okay? Next, by the way, people will say, oh great, I'm gonna be a beginner forever. That means I get noob gains forever. No, beginners don't look or feel or perform the best, so it's not good to be a beginner, obviously. Next, intermediate goes beyond this, but then they level off as well. And then the truly advanced go beyond and they level off, but actually this axis looks a little bit more like this, okay? The advanced person can essentially progress indefinitely, even as an advanced natural lifter. And keep in mind, this is for advanced people. I don't speak to primarily enhanced athletes, okay? So let's go ahead and walk through this before I start yapping a little too much. First and foremost, 80% of lifters, the beginner purgatory. Why is it called the beginner purgatory? Because you get stuck here and you don't know why you're stuck, all right? Here's why. First and foremost, you build the first 10 pounds or so of muscle. Now, depending on the person, it might be 5 to 15 pounds. You build the first 5 to 15 pounds of muscle relatively easily. The problem with that is because you did it relatively easily without doing all that much correctly, you then think that that is sufficient to build the next 15 pounds, the next 10 pounds. Now, unfortunately for those people, what they don't realize is two things. Number one, that's not how it works. You have to train and work harder for every ounce of muscle you put on, because every pound of muscle you build, the next pound is harder, right? You don't gain muscle faster the more you gain. Obviously, there's a limit. We get slower progress as we get closer to that limit. It's as simple as that. So now we understand that. What they also don't realize until they're several years into this is that you only look impressive when you have 30, 40 pounds of muscle naturally. That's when you start seeing physiques that actually stand out, okay? So the beginner builds some muscle, they see some progress, and they believe to think that, oh yeah, this is what they mean. It's only 20% exercise and 80% nutrition. I'm gonna cover that not even very briefly, I'm gonna cover that right now. This is the insidious thing about being a beginner, and this is what holds so many beginners back, is the training. Listen very closely. The training is what holds them back. Now, a lot of people like to object to that, or they like to come on here and say, it's all nutrition. Nutrition is the reason why people don't go from beginner to intermediate to advanced. And I'm here to tell you that that is incorrect. And let me explain why, okay? First and foremost, 80% diet, 20% exercise is a weight loss driven idea. Weight loss driven. This is not for weight loss people. So if you're watching this, you only care about weight loss. You want to listen about why are you watching this? Kind of weird, right? The title should have taken care of you already. But anyways, that's a weight loss driven mindset. Training, okay, we don't call it exercise because exercise, again, weight loss driven, they're talking about HIIT cardio. They're talking about, oh, I'm just going for some, it's just exercise. They're lifting weights from point A to point B in the worst way possible. They build a few pounds of muscle and they think, oh, this lifting thing is super easy. Only a couple hours a week, that's all that matters. No, lifting is the spark. Nutrition, sleep, stress management, hydration, everything else goes into fueling your training. So nutrition, the reason why a lot of beginners suck is indeed because they struggle with consistency of nutrition. But again, if they became more consistent with their nutrition, but they weren't training properly, you simply cannot advance to the next stage. Because it's not fat content that takes you from here to here, it's muscle content. And muscle content, okay, I don't know what's going on with this hair here, muscle content only comes about via proper training. Once you hit your calories, your macros, and relatively good food selection, there isn't all that much more you can do to further optimize nutrition, okay? You can't eat your way to an advanced lifter. It's impossible. You have to train your way to an advanced lifter, and everything else surrounds that. I hope that we understand this now. So, and I get that people will disagree because they struggle with nutrition, so they like to project and say, oh no, it's all nutrition, that's the only reason. No. I can tell you from somebody who's worked with thousands of people across the world for a decade, that's not the case. It's training. Next, don't understand what consistency actually looks like and means. For training, for nutrition, for sleep, for hydration, these people think that they're consistent when they track something relatively accurately for 3 days. Now, the required consistency to move from somebody who, you work out every day, you're kidding, right? You work out every day. Like, how embarrassing is it for a beginner lifter who's been working out for 10 years to say, yeah, I go to the gym every day. Okay, what's your goal exactly? Because, people will say, oh, maybe it's not their goal to get in amazing shape or to have big muscles. Sure. Is your goal to at least look like you work out? No. Who the fuck's going to the gym and doesn't want to look like they work out? Everybody does. But they don't understand how hard it is and how consistent they have to be, okay? Also, they don't understand how hard the training has to be, going back to that point, but keep this in mind that training to build more and more muscle to get up the ranks is extremely difficult. It's not overly complex, but it's high effort and it's every single session, right? For years. So building muscle is very difficult. They think building muscle is easy. You see the flip there. Building muscle, very difficult. They think it's easy. And they don't train properly basically ever. These people don't know what RIR is. They don't track their sessions. Again, without proper nutrition and all the rest, that's not gonna happen anyways. They don't realize progressive overload. They don't even know what progressive overload means. You can check my other content to understand how to train better. They look for tips and tricks. This is a big one, instead of consistent execution of the fundamentals. So beginners are always the ones that say, whether they've been working out for 5 years, 10 years, or 5 months, they're the ones that'll say, hey, do you have any tips? Oh, do you have any tips for women of this, that, and the other? Oh, do you have any tips for a guy who's been doing this, that, and the other? Oh, do you have any tips for building a big chest? Do you have any tips for this? It's like, if you're asking for tips, you're cooked at the moment. You don't even know what you don't know yet, okay? You think tips is going to do anything. Everybody inherently knows that consistent execution of the fundamentals, tracking and hitting your nutrition targets with proper meal composition, training appropriately to maximize progressive overload and create the adaptation of muscle growth, constantly progressing in that over time, sleeping properly, all the rest, they understand that that is what is going to take you from here to here to here. Beginners stay beginners because even though they know this, they're holding on to the hope that they can find one tip that unlocks everything for them. It's not gonna work that way. It never will. It's consistent execution of the fundamentals. And when I say consistent, because remember, beginners don't know what that means, I'm talking about every single day for years. Now, that doesn't register. So let me say it again. every single day for years. We have to understand that if this wasn't insanely difficult, most people would look amazing. And as a result, you would not care to watch this video on how to look better because it wouldn't be valuable. It is extremely difficult and it takes a long time. Anybody that said, oh no, it's not that difficult, it's that. There are exceptions here and there, very far and few in between, obviously, as we see just by going out in society. This is what's gonna hold most people with average genetics back naturally from seeing the best results. And funny enough, people also look at this and say, oh, well, this is actually just because these people aren't on steroids. These people are on some steroids and these people are on the most steroids. Those people are complete morons. But not only that, they don't realize there's people here taking steroids. People here taking steroids that look worse than people here not taking steroids, okay? So this has nothing to do with the steroid thing. By the way, the sweat's starting, as we could tell. The yapping doesn't help, okay? So I'm gonna try to condense this a little bit more if possible. You don't understand, we have to summarize each one of these points. So to finish off the beginner purgatory issue here, you don't understand what is required and how hard it is, or you do understand how hard it is and what's required, and you just don't wanna pay the price to achieve it. So either or, you're gonna be stuck here. As long as you wanna keep going to the gym, hey, my goal isn't to build big muscles or be a pro bodybuilder. This isn't about pro bodybuilder, okay? I don't even compete as of right now. All these years I've been lifting, I haven't had the desire to compete. That may change, doesn't matter. This is not for people that wanna be pro bodybuilders, okay? It's for people that wanna maximize how they look, feel, and perform. Better physique is part of that. The summary here, they do very little correctly and they don't get how hard it is. That's it, okay? So I could have saved you a bunch of time if I started with that, but obviously there's a lot of nuance that goes into this that obviously is worth mentioning so you can understand it better. Once you finally get past the beginner purgatory, the people, you know, people are just getting burned up in this beginner stage, spinning their wheels, probably usually working harder than they have to. In many cases, they're like doing 2 days, they're working out for 2 hours a day, but again, they're not working out correctly, so they have to work out longer just to attempt to make up for it. They're cutting all their carbs, they're intermittent fasting, they're carb cycling, they're calorie cycling, like they're doing all this bullshit. I'm over here just like, yeah, I literally don't even think about anything and I'm all the way up here still progressing. And again, you're thinking, are you sure? And we'll get to that. So you do very little and you just don't get how hard it is. That's the summary here. So if you're still here and you're wondering, I don't get it, what am I doing wrong? You're doing very little correctly and you don't understand how hard this is and how long it takes, okay? So if you are seeing progress right now and you're in this stage, it's simply because, well, you either are actually new to this, if you're within your first 12 months of lifting. If you're seeing progress out that, you very well might be on your path to becoming an intermediate. Or you have been stuck for years, but finally you watch my content and it all clicks, you start doing the right things, and now you're on your way here, okay? So obviously you're not gonna be stuck here, that's good news. Let's move on to the intermediate trap. Now before I talk about the intermediate trap, keep in mind, these two things prevent people from building their best physiques. We all want to get here. These two things, I have the Physique Accelerator, quick shameless plug. My Physique Accelerator allows these two types of people in either of these traps to progress to the next stage. So if you're stuck in beginner, you want to get to intermediate as quickly as possible, you spend 3 to 6 months minimum in my Physique Accelerator, you will get there. Same with intermediate, you will then understand, have the tools to move to advanced. So keep that in mind, the link is in the description if you're interested. The intermediate trap is an insidious mindset thing more than anything else. Now, it's all mindset to a large degree, but these people execute the consistent fundamentals. They execute the fundamentals more consistently, obviously, okay? These people train better as well. Let's walk through each point. So they train hard, which is how they got here primarily, okay, obviously everything else, but they didn't evolve their approach more over time, all right? They think that they hit their natty limit. These people are the ones that look at these people that are natural still and say, oh, that guy's on steroids, okay? Because they think that they max themselves out. They're at like a 23 FFMI and they think, oh, you know, I probably can't get any more than this because they're hitting a ceiling, they're not progressing, or when they try to progress, they get injured and things like this. By the way, I went through all this stuff. I was stuck in the beginner purgatory for about 6 years myself. I was stuck in the intermediate for about another 6 to 7 years, okay? I went through this. That's the only reason. This is not, I didn't get this from anywhere else. I made this all up myself based on my observation, my personal anecdote, and working with so many others and seeing it reflect in those as well. So they think that they hit their natty limit and they need roids to go any further, okay? Let's talk about FFMI real quick. Fat-free mass index is still heavily misunderstood. Now, why did I keep saying that I am actually technically advanced? It's because my FFMI at the current moment, that stands for fat-free mass index, at the current moment hovers at about 23.5 to 24, okay, all natural. So that is considered in the advanced stage. Now, people think that if you go to 25 FFMI, that is the maximum FFMI that you can have as a natural male lifter, but that's not true. There are plenty of examples, especially even pre-steroid era, so we know for a fact that they're natural, that were able to achieve above 25 FFMI, okay? I think if you have relatively average genetics, you can reach 24 to 25 FFMI. Your physique will look sick, that's great. If you have terrible genetics, maybe only 23 FFMI to 24. Well, that's bad genetics. If you have terrible genetics, you might not even reach 23 FFMI, but these are far and few in between, okay? And if you have elite genetics, you could even go to somewhere in the vicinity of 27 to 28 FFMI as a natural lifter. These are the absolute freaks that you see that everybody else claims they have to be on steroids. No. They are freaks of nature genetically. And people might say, well, that's for pro bodybuilders. Pro bodybuilders get to a 35 FFMI to 40 FFMI, okay? They're in that range. So we're not in the same stratosphere as those individuals yet. All in all is to say, if you're natural, you can get to an impressive FFMI naturally. And by the way, for women, that's gonna be, I've spoken on this in my previous video, but I always get the women one wrong a little bit. It's usually closer to like 20 FFMI for like a pretty serious, sick female physique, up to 21, maybe 22 if she's like genetically gifted, okay? So FFMI, if you're 23 FFMI and you think, oh, I hit my natty limit, you're probably overestimating your body fat anyways. You're probably underestimating how much muscle you have, all these things. You're fatter than you think, you're weaker than you think. People come to these conclusions because they're struggling to break through to the next level because they aren't evolving their approach. They think that they're super optimized right now and that they can't really optimize any further, when in reality, even their nutrition alone could still be optimized. A lot of people at this point, okay? Their training can definitely be way more optimized, way more specialized. The problem is from here to here, usually volumes have to go downwards because you're getting so much stronger at this point. In order to get to the next level of strength and muscle growth, you need to reduce volumes. You need to focus more on recovery and set things up in such a way that prioritization takes precedence over everything else, over volume. For example, intensity takes precedence over volume at this point, etc., for most people. And so these people are stuck here because they think, I can't do any more than this. So, and when they try to, they get injured. So they think, I hit my natty limit. No. You have to go counterintuitively. You have to evolve to push more towards higher effort, get more out of every set. You can't do as many sets, etc. They think that they are super optimized. I went through that. You're not willing to advance in the next level, and they're not constantly learning. So they kind of cap their knowledge here. They think that they know everything by this point. They think they understand all the concepts. Let me tell you, somebody's been doing this 15 years, 16 years, and always trying to learn about it. I'm still to this day learning more and more, okay? So I thought I got caught in the intermediate trap myself. I thought I need more volume than this. I started working out 7 days a week, okay? And it worked for a little bit, boom, injury. I did something else, boom, injury. And then I started accumulating injuries and I had to pull back. And then I started losing muscle. And then I thought, oh my God, like I hit my limit. That's the best I could ever achieve. No, now I'm back to that limit, no injuries whatsoever, continually getting stronger, getting better, learning more, etc. So this is very difficult. Think about it, 95% of lifters are gonna fall in this, roughly speaking, right? So obviously most people do not get past this, and even more, like out of all the people that do get past this, very few even get past this, right? So I think that we get the point here. It's a lack of continuously evolving their knowledge. They get to a point where they're like, yeah, I look good. Other people notice that I lift, it's obvious, whatever. But they burn themselves out. They don't continuously evolve their approach. They don't understand what it takes to get to the next level. Then we talk about the next level, the truly advanced. Now, people will ask me what I think I'm at. I think I'm just over the intermediate trap. I'm probably down here. I think I can still go quite a bit further. I do personally am chasing 25 FFMI. And I think that I can achieve that for sure. So that said, let's talk about the advanced, okay? I think I'm yapping a little too much here, so I apologize. I don't apologize. So ultra specialized training and nutrition over time plus always evolves. Again, you're always tampering with the volumes, the frequencies, the intensities. These people have very hyper specified splits. I'll give you an example. My split right now has evolved from a sort of a 4-day on, 1 day off with an arm specialization, but now I'm going biceps, chest, or chest, biceps, delts, rear delts, back, triceps. Like, it's always these weird combinations, and then the volumes are very disproportionate because you have to allocate the few amounts of sets you can do per week to the muscle groups you need to build while putting the other ones on a back. But like, training becomes a lot more focused, a lot more personalized, and these people will never care about, oh, what's the best split? These people know better than that. What's the best split? That's down here. Okay, very few of those people are here. These people are already understanding. Choose a split that you like, go with it and evolve with that. And then here, these people all have their own splits typically, okay? And if they have a generic looking split, they've modified it entirely to their own preferences and whatnot. They have all the details dialed in: nutrition, meal composition, meal timing, everything optimized, preferences they understand better by this point, because this also takes years. Don't forget, like, some people go from here all the way up, right? Just 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. They have far more consistent, so they don't let trips and vacations derail them. These people still allow that to a degree. These people are far more consistent than these people. These people go on a trip, they come back 10 pounds heavier. These people are always cutting. They cut. Okay, now it's time to go in a gaining phase. Oh, they fuck up for 2 weeks, back to a cut. They go out, fuck up after a month, back to a cut. These people are spinning their wheels. That's not consistency. These people, they're seeing bigger, longer term progress. But they go on a vacation, now they gotta take 2 weeks to come back to it. These people are fully integrated, okay? I go on a vacation, I have it fully integrated, no problem. I have a situation where my living situation is ripped up immediately. I have to flip over. I don't start gaining weight accidentally. My performance doesn't drop. Everything is integrated perfectly, okay? So that's a huge difference here. The level of consistency that these people have is not only 10 times higher than these people, 5 times higher than these people, just to throw out numbers to illustrate the point, but they do it with less effort, so it's more integrated. They are more consistent with less effort. See how that works? It's been baked in. The lifestyle is baked in. And intuition and knowledge is superior as a result. These people keep learning not only about themselves, they treat themselves as an experiment, because that's ultimately the most important thing you can do in this, and ultimately that's the reality of how this works. There is no, oh, that paper said everybody responds better to this. Oh, that's the objectively best split. No truly advanced lifter can say, unless they're trying to grift or they're still here mentally, that there's an objective best split. There's an objective thing everybody needs to do to maximize results. These people understand it's all variety. At this level, it's all little details that are customized to the individual, okay? And they always treat themselves as experiments, and they never disregard anecdotal data, because at this point, you will have enough anecdote to know when some science-based bullshit comes out, you go, not exactly. That doesn't apply that well. That looks good on paper. It doesn't look good in practice. That doesn't work for these types of people. You're able to apply way more. These people are simply more consistent with less effort, more personalized, more nuanced, more anecdote, more every detail locked into them. That way they're able to consistently evolve and get closer to their natty limit. When I say all that, you can understand why so few individuals reach this. This very well may be 1% of lifters instead of 5, okay? Again, these are arbitrary percentages. It reflects every endeavor in every human endeavor. So it's statistically, it's as simple as this. Statistically, more than 50% chance most people are gonna be stuck at the beginner stage no matter how long they lift, okay? Now, hopefully after watching this video, you understand better how to get out of it for yourself. Let me quickly summarize each one of these, because I didn't do that. The summary for the beginner, we've gone through already. You do very little right, and you don't get how hard this is. The summary for the intermediate is you get complacent and you think that you've made it. You think you know everything here, and anybody that's bigger or better than you or knows more than you is on steroids and I don't know, something else, I guess, or they're just wrong. I don't know. Summary for the advanced lifter: they never stop learning, experimenting, and insane consistency for 10 to 20 years. That's it. That's the only way you keep getting up to this level, okay? So check your FFMI right now and be honest with your thing. If you're like, oh, I'm at a 24 FFMI, I've only been lifting 2 years. Highly unlikely, unless you look absolutely insane. You've got incredible genetics. Highly unlikely. So be more reasonable with this. See what sort of weight goals you need to reach at what body fat percentages, and set that plan over time. Experiment for yourself. Bake in this consistency. Learn how to build your intuition for yourself, and always be prepared to evolve your training more and more and more. Don't get complacent on a single split and that's it. Again, here you can stay with the same split for a long time. When you go into my physique accelerator, I'm giving mostly generic splits, and you're sticking with these for 3, 6, 9 months because we have to build in that consistency, that learning, that intuition, and over that time, you'll be able to now see what works better for you so that you can eventually evolve to here. That's it. I'm done yapping. Hope that this makes sense. Any other questions, please drop them in the comments. You guys said in the last video that you like these yaps. Again, let me know if that's still the case. I hope that you found this video helpful. It blew up on TikTok, so I figured might as well drop it here as well. And whatever you want to see next, comment that down below as well. If you haven't yet, subscribe, because I'm going to be dropping videos not just like this, but also other videos. Not gonna lie, they're gonna be yapathons for the most part. I'm gonna leave the scripted, highly edited videos to the side for now. I feel like I kind of did that phase and I didn't like it. It wasn't as authentic to me. And not only that, I couldn't churn out as much content for you guys. So if it means me having to yap more, it's YouTube here. Hopefully there's not as many complaints about, oh, this is supposed to be 30 seconds. It's TikTok, brain rot. So it shouldn't be a problem, but nonetheless, let me know anything else you want me to see. Thank you so much for watching as always. I will see you in the next one. I'll see you at the top.